Russian President Vladimir Putin is shortly landing in India. This visit comes at a pivotal moment with New Delhi navigating intense pressure from Washington while deepening long standing ties with Moscow. The summit places defense, energy, sanctions, and strategic autonomy in the spotlight as the world watches India's balancing act between Russia and the United States. I'm joined by the Federal's consulting editor K.S. Dakshinamurthy, who closely tracks international happenings to help us understand the geopolitics at play. Thank you for joining me, sir. Given this is Putin's first India trip since the Russia Ukraine war, how significant is this visit for both countries at a time when global alignments are shifting so sharply?
In fact, Putin's the visit to India is one of the rare visits of Putin outside Russia since the war started. Also, because there have been some issues in the International Criminal Court, and he's wary of moving out of Russia. So New Delhi definitely is one of his comfort destinations, we can call it. And what it basically shows is that there is a great level of trust. Plus, there is a deep friendship that exists between Russia and India. Of course, it's been pretty challenging in recent times, especially the latest issue of the US President Donald Trump asking India to stop importing oils from Russia. It obviously would have created issues for Putin, and naturally there would have been some element of resentment one would have expected. But on the face of it, it doesn't seem to be so. I think Putin has taken it in his stride, and he has gone ahead and ensured that there is no blip in the relationship with India. And in fact, his summit that is to be held tomorrow is going to really further and deepen the existing relationship between Russia and India. So Putin is also coming to India to make a point that Russia is much needed by other countries. It is not isolated, and it also has friends, and friends like India, and so there is a lot of connotations to Putin's visit. It's not just the usual summit where there are largely bilateral issues that are discussed. This one has a larger implication because of the largely because of the Ukraine-Russia war and the kind of polarization that is happening globally between the US-led nations and countries that are more aligned towards China. And of course, India is caught in between, and India is friends with both. So it's trying to balance it. So Putin coming to India is also a way of telling the Modi government that Russia remains a friend and would want India to reciprocate the friendship.
Okay. My next question is a two-part question, sir. So, Trump's 50% tariff strains India's options, obviously. And does this push India closer to Russia? And what message does hosting Putin send to US despite US pressure?
It's it was very important that this summit had to move on. Otherwise, there are a few things that were going against India. Of course, Donald Trump's punitive tariff of 25% plus the reciprocal tariff of 25%, making it 50%, was anyway a kind of a setback for India. And what it also showed India is that the United States doesn't really hesitate to take a negative step despite having a so-called strategic partnership. So for India, this became a kind of a reality check when Trump imposed these tariffs. And it's not just that tariffs were imposed on India and other countries. Trump did not impose similar tariff on China. He has not imposed similar tariffs on Turkey, on the EU nations, who are all, in some way or the other, dealing with Russia. So it is also seen as a kind of a kind of a targeting of India. So in that sense, it has caused a lot of hurt in the foreign policy establishment. So India had to assert itself and prove that it can, it can go on with life as usual, despite Trump now applying pressure. So what it basically shows is that despite Trump, asking India to lay off Russia in some ways, India is going ahead and inviting, Putin for the summit. And in fact, during this summit, there is going to be some major decisions that will be taken. For instance, furthering your arms trade, and India is going to buy more state-of-the-art weaponry, including the stealth fighter Su-57, and it's also going to deepen its business dealing as far as the nuclear energy is concerned. So there is a wide-ranging set of things that India is going ahead as if really nothing has happened. Things are all on an even keel, which I think is is the best possible way to react to Trump and say that no other country can interfere in India's foreign policy.
So you spoke about furthering arms deal with Russia, and even with the talks on a Eurasian FTA expanding trade in pharma, agriculture, manufacturing, a new labor mobility pact, and like you said, a steady nuclear cooperation from Kudangalam to smaller modular reactors. Is India now poised for a deeper multi-sector reset with Moscow, despite its broader diversification strategy?
In fact, over and above all this, the Russian Parliament or the Duma just the other day, ratified this logistics deal that India and Russia signed in February of this year. This is a very crucial deal because this opens up Indian territory for Russian, visits. Like, you can have Russian military personnel coming into Indian territory, basing there. You can have Russian naval ships berthing in Indian ports, and similarly, India also, sending its military personnel to Russian territory, and so a lot of cooperation and opening up at a very deep level, which is not the case even with the United States. So in that sense, this is a very far-reaching move, this pact that India and Russia have signed, and the Duma has also cleared it. So it means that going forward, it's it's going to really, in fact, almost match the kind of relationship India had with the Soviet Union during the Soviet era. And after the Soviet Union disintegrated, this is probably the biggest deal that India has signed with Russia. This logistics pact. It's one with a very far-reaching implication.
Okay. So you've already, said in a bit about what I'm going to ask now at the beginning of our interview. But do you mind going deeper into, if you believe this summit is partly a geopolitical message aimed at the US and Europe?
Yes, it is. See, there are a couple of things. Number one, it's a message that India is sending to the West and to the US. That is one part of it. The other is also telling Russia that India still values the relationship with Russia, and also the Modi government has to, in some ways, convey to the to Putin and his government that nothing has changed because Trump has applied pressure on India. So this is a very important thing because Russia is very important for India in the Asian region also, because Russia and China have a very close relationship. And what it basically does is that it helps India because India can use the relationship with Russia to ensure that China doesn't go out of line, or there is a better understanding between China and Russia. Also because you know that it's a very complicated situation. You have China and Pakistan, which are very close to each other. So in some ways that threat remains. So having a relationship with Russia and Russia's relationship with China, it actually helps India in it to kind of keep the region, without tension free. Basically, it helps India keep the region tension free, and it helps. And the other important thing is the India-Afghanistan relationship. Now, the India-Afghanistan relationship also, in some ways, has to do with Russia, because Russia was the first country, in fact, to recognize the Taliban. And because Russia and India have this kind of a very good relationship, it naturally opens the door for India and Afghanistan. So, it's related in many ways. So so to repeat what I said, it's not just for Trump and for the West that it is important. It's also important for India to have a good relationship with Russia, because it's necessary for India to have it for its own sake in the Asian region.
Let's wait and watch what unfolds more tomorrow. Thank you for your insights, sir.